All right, fight fans, we're with everybody's favorite referee, Mr. Kenny Bayless. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing just great,
Okay, so it's the big Manny Pacquiao versus Tim Bradley fight weekend. You had the honor of refereeing the co-main event, Jorge Arce versus Rojas, and that was intended to be the fight of the night. It looked that way in the first round. What a war. And then in the second round, all hell broke loose. Can you kind of clarify what happened in that second round?
Yeah, like you said, the first round was great. I mean, I was preparing myself for a long evening because Arce knocked him down in the I think it was within the first 30, 45 seconds of the first round. And then toward the end of the round, Chavez started to come back. And then in the start of the second round, there was an unintentional low blow that kind of shook or froze Arce up, and then a punch followed after before I could get in and stop the action. And Arce went down, and which I first ruled it not a knockdown. The ruling was a low blow, and but Arce, after a considerable amount of time, showed me no indication that he was going to get up. Matter of fact, he kept motioning to his ear. So at that point in time, I called the lead doctor to come up. The lead doctor came up and started to examine him, and he continued to complain about behind the ear, and it was pretty evident at that particular point in time that he could not continue. So the doc informed me to stop the fight, which I did, and at that point there wasn't really a whole lot we could do other than because it was an accidental low blow. The fight had to go to a no contest.
Right, and it really looked like Arce was indeed hurt. We all know he's a warrior. He's been through a lot of wars. He always fights to the end. Do you know if he's okay from what you hear, or?
I didn't get the opportunity to get back to the dressing room, but at the end of the evening, we had a post-fight critique, which we often do, with the Nevada Athletic Commission and Keith Kaiser, and the doctors, went back to the dressing room to keep an eye on him. They said that he did get a little better, but because when he was in the ring, he kept rolling to his left, which was the side where he had gotten hit, and that was a concern to the fight doctors.
Right, and just to sum it up, the journalist next to me said that in his eyes he thought Arce was fouled 3 times at once, and you had to make the call, and you made the correct call. And thank you for clarifying that. Now let's move on to a lot of fans, they want to write in and send in their questions for referees. And first of all, have you ever been hit by a fighter, like accidentally or intentionally? And when I think of most vividly in my mind, off the top of my head, is the Zab Judah fight when he fought Costa Zoo, and Jane Nady obviously made the right decision to stop that fight because Zab got up too quickly and he was in no condition to continue. And then we all saw what Zab did. He looked like he was basically trying to choke Jane Nady. So anything bizarre like that ever happened to you, like intentionally or unintentionally?
Nothing bizarre like that has happened, but I have been hit accidentally several years ago from a heavyweight. I actually asked the fighters to break, and the fighter to my right decided to throw a punch, and it missed the opponent, and the punch came around and it caught me in the top of the head. Wow. The punch was I was at the end of the punch, so it didn't really have the full impact.
What weight class was this fighter?
Heavyweight.
Heavyweight. Wow. Okay.
And so I gave him a very hard warning, and he apologized, and the fight continued after that.
Okay, but nothing since then.
Nothing since then.
Okay. You know, you are pretty much everybody's favorite referee. A lot of people think you are the best in the business because you're very balanced, objective, and fair. And you have a strong reputation for that. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
You know, nobody's perfect. So obviously, let's go to probably one of your only major mistakes that you made was the Pacquiao Mosley fight. Obviously, for whatever reason, you thought Mosley knocked Pacquiao down legitimately, but obviously later on you found out that it was a shove. And just with the rules of boxing, because you did find out later that it was not indeed a legitimate knockdown. Are there rules where you can tell the judges, like, hey, I saw the replay or I saw it again? How are the rules with that exactly?
Well, in that situation, we're not privy to instant replay. I mean,
right.
I thought that it was a punch at the time.
Right.
But, when they showed the instant replay and I had the opportunity to catch the instant replay up on the big screen.
Right.
But I'd already made the call. So the call has to stand.
But in that case where you did see it, you can't say, you know what, judges, I saw it on the jumbotron. Is there any rule that you could do that? Or
the only time we can use instant replay if there's an issue of the determining the outcome of a fight. Like, let's say for an example, a fighter gets hit with a. Well, in that situation, if a fighter, if there's an accidental headbutt,
right,
and I can't determine, what if it was accidental or not,
right,
and a fighter gets cut severely, and the fight has to be stopped. Normally, you go, if it's before the fourth round,
right,
it can end up a technical draw.
Exactly.
So
that's all the more reason for instant replay.
That's exactly right. So in situations, like that, we can go to the instant replay because it's determining the outcome of the fight.
Okay, so you can go to instant replay in those situations. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, there are situations that we do go to instant replay.
And just to clarify, the Pacquiao Mosley outcome, I think two of the judges did not rule it a knockdown, if I believe, and one did follow your ruling. But again, and then you brought up, in between rounds, I noticed a lot of referees, they do their thing. What I noticed of you, is it correct? Are you rehydrating? Are you drinking your water?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I always try to keep a bottle of water near ringside because you never know what kind of a fight you're going to get. It could be a fight that gets, to keep us on our toes and keep us moving. And then in situations like that, you want to stay hydrated because it can get very hot up in that ring with the lights and everything else.
And I wonder why other referees aren't hydrating because they're going the same 12 rounds you guys are going.
Exactly.
Now, because we just brought up rehydrating between rounds, like there's always that joking myth about boxers, and of course you're the third man in the ring. What if you got to go to the bathroom? You're in there for a solid 36 minutes, if not more, and I mean, has there been any situation where you were in a fight and a fighter had to go to the bathroom, or did you have to go to the bathroom because you're drinking all that water?
Never happened.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. I've been refereeing for over 21 years, and it's all about how you prepare leading up to the fight. Like for example, tonight, I do drink a lot of water leading up to the fight, but I make sure I go to the bathroom maybe 20 minutes or so before the fight, so that when I'm in the ring, there's going to be no issue of needing to go to the bathroom or anything of that nature. Never happened.
Right. Now, all the fight fans want to know how much do the top referees make if you can reveal that to us. They want to know. Obviously, it's a very glamorous occupation to a lot of the fight fans. If you could share with us, like in general, how much do the top referees make per like huge fights?
The biggest payday that I have received today was I refereed Floyd Mayweather when he fought Oscar De La Hoya, and my paycheck that night was just a little over $8,000.
Wow! So $8,000 for about. What, 36 minutes? That's pretty good, right?
If you count the extra minute between the rounds, you could be pushing close to an hour.
And then how often do you see? Because you're one of the most sought after referees. So how often do you work? Would you say once a month? Would you say, or every other month on average?
It varies depending upon how many fights we get. I mean, there are times we may go a month and a half without a fight.
Right.
But then we could go a month, and we might end up doing maybe 2, maybe 3 fights. I mean, we have situations where we've had 4 fights, 5 fights within a month. But it varies from month to month. From the Mayweather fight, which was back on May 5th. We've had several fights between then and now. So it just varies from month to month.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, just to clarify for all the fight fans who want to know, the referee is usually selected not by the promoters, not by the fighters. It's actually by the state commission, correct? Would you say?
Exactly.
So depending if it's in Texas, it's the Texas State Boxing Commission, correct? Is that?
Yeah, whatever state that the fight is sanctioned at, that particular state, they make the selection as far as the officials. And
then, so did they cover your travel expenses? They're flying you out. They're putting you up in a hotel. Like they've given you food per diem. Like, how's that?
Yes, they do. Like for an example, we had 2 judges from California come to Las Vegas and actually work tonight. So their expenses are paid, their travel is paid, their rooms are paid for as well.
That's a pretty good deal. You get a free vacation while you're working, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong. One of your mentors is legendary referee Richard Steele, correct?
Yes, Richard Steele was the referee that first got me in the ring and told me the art of refereeing.
That's awesome. He's refereed several legendary fights, and most notably and probably controversially, he refereed the first Chavez versus Taylor fight, which
Yes.
Can you comment on what you think, if he made the right call there, in your opinion?
Well, I thought he made the right call. He was looking out for the safety of the fighter. And that's,
Would you have made that call if you were in his shoes that night?
I would have probably done a few things a little differently. But, the thing I tell people is that Richard asked him twice.
Yeah, that's true.
He asked him twice, "Are you okay?" And he didn't answer.
I think
so we can't get into the time factor.
Yeah.
We're looking out for the man's safety.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
And perhaps Richard didn't know how much time was left either.
A fight of that. I mean, sometimes we can be so into what we're doing, we can't be thinking about the time and this and that. We're more focused on the livelihood of the fighter.
And there's referees such as Steve Smolger. Mm-hmm. He's pretty much known for just letting fighters beat the living crap out of each other. So he's known for not doing early stoppages. You, on the other hand, you like we said, you're very balanced. Your judgment's really precise, really accurate. So how do you make that call when you obviously you don't want the fighter to go through too much punishment, but then you also don't want to end it too early, prematurely?
Well, I tell you, Steve Smolger, I would just like to make a comment about him. I think he's a great referee, and a lot of times, when we're in the moment, there's something that he may see that may vary from what I see. I've been around the sport for a very, very long time. I started out as a glove man, and I've just followed the sport through the years. From a glove man, I went to an inspector, and then from an inspector, I went to a referee. I'm a student of the game, and it takes a whole lot to get to the point where I'm at, seminars, workshops, the list just goes on and on and on. And I've just been fortunate to make the right call that's been pleasing to the sports writers and the fans, and I'm just thankful and blessed for it.
Okay, I want to talk real quickly about Bernard Hopkins. I just want to make a comment about him. Obviously he's a legend, and you got to give a lot of credit to him and what he did in his career. But I always debate with the Bernard Hopkins fans that the dirty side of him, and I'm just using as an example, a good example of this. And whenever I do debate with him about like how the dirty tactics that some of these fighters do, like Bernard Hopkins. Especially, they always say to me, well, it's the referee's job. It's the referee's job to catch all the dirty stuff that, generally speaking, Bernard Hopkins tends to, do like headbutts and groin shots, away from the referee. And, whenever I debate with his fans about this, they always say, well, you know what? It's the referee's job. Don't blame Bernard Hopkins, and then you did one of the Bernard Hopkins fight versus Oscar De La Hoya, correct?
Yes.
And granted, he was actually pretty clean in that fight. That was actually one of the cleanest fights he ever did fight. And so I was just wondering, why is it that if certain fighters are notoriously known for doing all these illegal fouls, and they're good at covering it up away from the referee, how come the referee doesn't like go into the fight saying, hey, I'm going to be the one referee that catches, all the stuff that this certain fighter gets away with? Like, what's your thought on that, if you can make a comment on that?
Well, before every boxing card, as referees, we go to the dressing room and go over the rules.
Right.
And that's where you set the tone. You set the tone in the dressing room. And I let them know, look, I spell it out. I tell them what I'm going to do when I see something. And if I see it, this is how I'm going to respond. Now, a fighter can test me on it if he wants to. And some fighters do test you.
Right.
I've had to take points from fighters. I've had to disqualify fighters.
Wow.
If they take me there, I'm going to go there. Because, the Chief Kaiser and the Athletic Commission appointed me to do that fight. So I'm duty bound to do the best job because they felt that I'm the person worthy of doing that fight. So I have to go in with the attitude that I'm not only representing myself, but I'm representing the state of Nevada.
Right. Now let's talk about you a little bit more. You told me previously you have a master's degree, that's correct?
I have a master's degree in education of administration.
Awesome. So that's your, would that be your first full-time, or you're retired from that industry?
Right. I taught school teacher for 35 years, and I'm retired now.
Okay, and then so refereeing is, so to speak, your current, would you say full-time job now, or would you say you're...
Well, I'd say it's more like I wouldn't even call it a part-time job because we don't know when our next assignment, I mean, we had a show last night at the Hard Rock. I didn't work it. And just because there's a show doesn't mean that I'm going to work every show. I think Keith Kaiser and the commission do a good job on how they rotate and assign us officials, and so we just take it as it comes.
Right, and also you gave me one of your business cards in the past. It was it looks like it was something to do with the health and wellness industry, correct?
Yes.
Could you maybe elaborate on that, like what your side business is?
Yeah, me and my wife believe very strongly in good health and we feel that the
That's
number,
great.
yeah, the number one, diet is very big in people's diet, and we feel that the old saying, "What you are is what you eat," and we feel that fruits and vegetables is the key to good health. And my wife stumbled into this company several years ago, about 20 exact, called NSA, National Safety Association. And the number one product that they got out on the market now is called Juice Plus. And we both take this product. Basically what it is fruits and vegetables in a capsule. They've juiced the fruits and vegetables, extracted the sugar and water out at a temperature that has maintained all the nutrients, put it in a capsule form, and the product has been the most tested and researched product on the planet, and that's the product we take.
Is there a website where your fans can check out this business that you just talked about?
Yes.
With the growing popularity of MMA, do you have any interest in possibly refereeing MMA matches like UFC? No interest at all?
I have no interest at all, and part of the reason why is, I've been asked, many times about the violence of boxing. And it's a violent sport, but it's controlled violence. And I've had to tell people that in the sport of boxing, when a fighter gets hit and gets knocked to the ground, that is called second concussion syndrome. That means that fighter, for that second or so, when he got hit, his body was separated from his mind, and that's why he went down. We give him a mandatory 8 count to make sure that he's okay to continue. But in UFC, if a fighter gets hit and goes down, and he is suffering from second concussion syndrome, the fighter standing can jump on top of him and continue to hit him. Or hit him with an elbow, whatever you want.
Right.
And I just got a personal issue with that. I mean, you could be a second or two slow, and how much more punishment is this guy gonna take? With his back to the canvas and his head on the ground. It's just, but I respect the athletes. You got to be well versed to get in the ring and do that. But safety is just number one, and to make the transition from boxing knowing that safety comes first, and I'm not saying that safety doesn't come first with UFC, I just would not want to be the guy that was a couple of seconds too late when a guy was experiencing second concussion syndrome, and I've seen it happen.
Okay, so the final question is, a lot of people want to become referees. They look up to you, and they want to travel the world and referee all these glorious fights. What's the best advice you could give to all these people that obviously they got to pay the dues? That's a given. They got to do the amateur ranks, and
that's the key. You just said it. You got to get in your local amateur program. When I got started years ago, I didn't miss an amateur show. I was at every one of them. And at the same time, I was attending all the professional shows. And believe it or not, when I started out, I didn't want to be a referee. I started out wanting to be a judge.
Really? And what happened there? Your brother's a judge, correct?
I had a judge, professional judge, say to me, "Hey Kenny, you're in pretty good shape. Why don't you try refereeing?"
Wow.
And that person was Jerry Roth, who worked tonight. And my first response was, no, I don't want to do that. And I thought about it and said, well, why not give it a chance? So I started, that's when I met Richard Steele. Richard Steele showed me the ropes. I started judging and refereeing at the amateur shows.
Awesome.
And over time, I ended up getting the appointment to be a referee.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Anything you want to say? Final words in this interview?
No. I just like to say to all the fans that despite what happens with the scoring and judging of fights, don't let it disappoint you. There's always more that meets the eye. Stay positive and just continue to be the boxing fan that you are.
Loyalty. Thank you so much, Kenny Bayless.
You bet.
You have a great night.
All right. Thanks a lot.